Hi friends, I wanted to give us a quick chance to catch up a little bit as we start on Helen of Troy this week to lead into Clytemnestra a little bit. This week, you have been asked to read the Higgins chapter under handouts in resources, and then there are a couple of bookmarks for videos and poems under resources as well. But at the end of the day, I want us to spend some time thinking about Helen, her relationship with her sister Clytemnestra, and what the reactions to Helen, first from the male gaze, and then later on through more elements of Greek society, show about society's view of beauty and the privilege and burden of feminine beauty. So to tackle this, I want to, for the purposes of this video, make three real points. One is that Helen and Clytemnestra come from the city of Sparta in Greece. Now, if you've watched the movie 300, if you have spent any time on the Spartans versus the Athenians, you know that Sparta has a very particular mindset, and that unlike many of the city-states in ancient Greece, Spartan women were supposed to learn how to defend themselves, and they put great store in physical fitness and strength, and women had a lot more autonomy and agency in Sparta than they did throughout the rest of the Greek Isles and Peninsula. So that's an important element for us to understand from the get-go. Clytemnestra was Helen's slightly, by a year, 18 months, older sister. And so Clytemnestra is the sister of the most beautiful woman to ever live, the only woman who can be compared to Aphrodite herself. So that's a thing. But within the two sisters' relationships, we're going to see a lot of loyalty, a lot of commitment, and a real struggle with family obligation and what it means when someone we love can cost us quite a lot. All right, so that's kind of the end of the spoilers, but within that Spartan mindset where women do have more agency, there are still triggers and obstacles to that. Both Clytemnestra and Helen of Troy are forced to marry people they don't want to. Two brothers, Menelaus, who becomes Helen's husband, and Agamemnon, who becomes, tragically, Clytemnestra's. So you have the most beautiful woman in the world, who all of the men have competed over, who agrees to marry Menelaus, and yet later when she is either abducted or seduced by Paris, watch that video too, she is taken off to Troy and she starts one of the first big global conflicts that's written about in the ancient world, and that is the Trojan War. So beauty for Helen is her identity. It creates opportunities and it creates costs for her. To look at a few lines from our poems, I think it's helpful to start with H.D.'s poem, Helen. It was written in the 1920s or 30s, that kind of time period. And I think it's important that it was written after a global world war, but before the second one. All Greece reviles the wan face when she smiles, hating it deeper still when it grows wan and white, remembering past enchantments and past ills. Just with those lines, Greece hates her. And Greece is going to hate her even more as she grows more withered, more wan, more aged, when she gets paler, when she loses the blush in her cheeks. Remembering past enchantments, because of course she has to have been a witch. Her beauty is a kind of magic, a kind of sorcery that beguiles and seduces. It's not just the way she is, right? And past ills, where she is going to be blamed for what men do as a result of her beauty. She's going to be blamed when every man has wanted to possess her. HD continues, Greece sees unmoved God's daughter born of love, the beauty of cool feet and slenderest knees. Could love indeed the maid only if she were laid white ash amid funereal cypresses. So never mind that she's the daughter of the great god Zeus, who came down, seduced her mom. Never mind that. Never mind how pretty she is, what a great dancer she is. Never mind all that. Greece will only forgive her when she's dead. So what does that mean for a beautiful woman? She's going to be maligned and vilified as long as she can draw breath, and then when she can once again be dead and objectified, when once again she can simply be a symbol rather than a living flesh and blood person, that's when she will be treated with any kind of humanity. That's a lot. I think HD also kind of zeroes in on the natural resentment that a lot of people have towards the beautiful. I mean, we can talk all we want to about jealousy, but I think what HD is talking about goes beyond, man, I wish I could make my hair do that, or gosh, she's gorgeous, into real hatred because of Helen. HD says those 1,000 ships were launched, those sons, brothers, husbands died fighting for a woman who doesn't even know their names, and HD lays that at Helen's feet. Margaret Atwood, though, takes a different tack in Helen of Troy Does Countertop Dancing, which is a far more recent poem. It came out in 96, so in the world of literature, that is cutting edge, my friends. And throughout the poem, it's Helen herself who speaks, which is a turn anyway. And Helen says, what am I supposed to do? Not dance? People might hate me because I do, but what am I going to do? Just stand here at the counter and get varicose veins and age? I mean, aging is unavoidable. All of that is just going to happen. But what is in my control is what I do with my beauty, what I do with my youth. And so notice she's not really plussed about how anyone reacts to her at all. Instead, when we look at that last stanza, because I think there's a fair amount of ambiguity about how she feels about all the male attention in particular, she does say, I hover 6 inches in the air in my blazing swan egg of light. You think I'm not a goddess? Try me. This is a torch song. So she's really coming at people who are telling her to hide herself, to cover herself, to be a little less extra, to just tone it down. You don't have to flash how beautiful you are. And she says, no, I am magic. She is owning and celebrating that beauty in herself. Yeah, we get the little allusion to the blazing swan egg, because, of Of course, Zeus seduced her mother when he was in the form of a swan. Don't ask. I don't know. But this notion of, you think I'm not a goddess? Try me. This is a torch song. Is an effort at reclamation. She's not responsible for what anyone does because of her. She is only responsible for what she does with her own beauty. She cannot control what men or women around her think about it, feel about it, say about it. But when she has a choice between standing and being still and being silent or dancing, she is going to choose dance and movement and agency and power. And I think that's a very intriguing idea when we contrast it to HD, when we contrast it to some of the versions that we encounter where Helen is little more than a pawn in a beauty contest among the goddesses. When Helen is frequently silent, we don't even know what her motives are. We don't know what she feels about anything. So I think it raises some real questions for us in our own time about, how do we feel about beauty? How do we feel about beautiful women? Are there ways in which they're damned if they do and damned if they don't, in terms of celebrating and honoring and identifying with that beauty? And those questions are going to stick with us during our next two novels in one way or another. So think about those, look at those poems, read the Higgins, watch the other video, but take some time this week to think about how in our own lives in this year of our Lord 2025, we reflect on the nature of beauty and of its power.